Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. Today we're breaking down my budget lighting kit for a solo filmmaker. So for the last few years I worked at a marketing agency and they had all of their own lights on all the projects that I was doing. I was using those lights. But since I went out on my own as a solo filmmaker about a month ago, I was like, dang, I need to buy some lights. Also, a key part of that story is I quit my job, so it needs to be on a budget. I don't need to spend a ton of money on these lights, but I don't want to buy, you know, the Amazon 3-point lighting kit either. Hey, if you can make it work, you can make it work. I can't make it work. So all that to say, I've spent the last few weeks scouring the internet trying to put together this budget lighting kit. These are definitely not the cheapest lights. It's not a cheap lighting kit, it's a budget lighting kit to make sure that I'm still getting really good quality light, really good light output, and being able to put together scenes and interviews, YouTube videos, kind of just a base kit that I can always have on me to create. And anything I need extra, I can rent later. So if you're in that position where you need some budget lights, I hope that this helps you out. If it does, please hit like down below, help grow the channel. So let's get into light number one, my main key light, my most powerful output light. That is gonna be the Aputure 200D. Now I would say this is the budget version of the 300D. The light output and the CRI are surprisingly comparative to the 300D, which is like $1,100. This is $299. I'm mostly gonna use this as my main key light, especially if I'm trying to battle light coming through the windows. I'll need this to brighten my interior so that I can stop down and not blow out windows. Lighting interviews, lighting any kind of narrative scene. This is gonna be my go-to because I know it's got the most output of everything that I have in this kit. And I mean, dang, like the build quality is less than the 300D or the 120D. There is a lot more plastic on this, specifically with the little mounting point right here, but it still feels solid. It feels like an Aputure light. If you've used an Aputure light, you probably love and trust them. It comes with the same reflector as all the other Aputure lights. This is some kind of metal. It goes ding. That's definitely not plastic. Yeah, it has the one dial to just set intensity. It's just a daylight light. They do make the 200X, which is the bicolor version. My homie Aaron has that light and he loves it. I'm just extremely happy that Aputure made budget versions with the 200D and the 100D. Aputure's not making bad lights. My only thing with this being the budget version is I'll take a little bit more care of it. I'll try to make sure I'm not over cranking this crank right here, making sure that I'm not letting it fall over or hit the ground at any point because it'll probably break sooner than a 100 or a 300 would. The very last thing that makes this light different is the power source. So it's just a power cord. There's no V-mount attachment. The controls are on the light instead of on the power source controller. So I will definitely be using the Sidus Link app because once this thing is up on a C-stand, I don't want to have to bring it down and turn the knob every single time. I mean, thankfully, Aputure has a really high quality app that I can link this light up to and control it from my phone. Again, there's no super straightforward way to power this by V-mount. I'm sure people have already figured out how to do that, and if I gave it a quick YouTube search, I could figure out how to do that. But there's no built-in way to power this by V-mount, and that's part of the budget. You know, if I had to buy a $30 stinger to stretch this out to a power outlet, it is what it is. So that is my key light, my powerhouse, the Aputure 200D. Oh, last thing, this does not come with a carrying case like the 100D and the 300D do. So I'm probably going to pick up some sort of case. For now, I'm just keeping it in the padded cardboard box that it came in. All right, light number two is the Aputure 100D. I'm not gonna talk too long about this because it's essentially the same exact light. I'm pretty sure the only difference is it has a lower light output. I'll use this as a secondary light, a hair light, a fill light. Pretty much any additional lighting that I need is gonna be my 100D. I guess if I need a ton of output, I could also combine it from the same direction with the same modifier as the 200D. Basically just another daylight balanced light, and it's gonna be so helpful. I didn't want to just get one good light as my key and then have something else with bad CRI and bad light output as my hair light or my fill light or whatever additional lighting I needed. That would kind of defeat the purpose if I have some dingy green or pink or non-noticeable because it's not powerful enough light trying to shape my image. But I also didn't want to spend another $299, and that's why, again, I'm just so glad that Aputure is looking towards budget filmmakers and saying like, oh, you don't want to buy two 200Ds? Buy a 200D and a 100D. Or don't buy a 200D at all, just buy the 100D. But I feel pretty confident that one 200D is gonna get me far enough, and then this 100D can be an awesome partner to it. Hey y'all, so it's the next day, I'm shooting this B-roll and I realized that I forgot to talk about the modifiers that I bought. I had to grab some modifiers, of course, for the daylight lights, the 100D and the 200D. So the main one I chose is the Aputure Lightdome SE. Oh, it's upside down. This is basically the light version of the Aputure Lightdome. This is similar to the Lightdome 1. That's a little bit more difficult to expand or like get ready to use. If you've ever used the Lightdome 1, this is very similar to that. It's a little bit smaller, but it has that style of setup that is difficult, and you have to take the metal bars and put it into the Bowens mount. It's not a great time, but again, budget. I didn't want to buy the Lightdome 2. That one you literally just push and it's ready to use. I used it yesterday. It's freaking awesome. But we're on a budget, right? The other modifier I went for is this Aputure Lightbox. It's the big strip. It's actually so big, like I'm trying to fit it in this frame. I wanted to have something similar to the softbox, but I didn't want to have two of the same modifier. Again, being on a budget, I feel like I needed as much variety as I could get. So I went with the Lightbox or the strip so that I could use it for product stuff. A lot of people use these to put diffused lighting on beverages, products, glasses, stuff like that. But I'll also probably use it just to light people. It's obviously a different shape, but it's still diffusion. So yeah, those are the modifiers I went with. Let's get back upstairs and finish up this video. All right, let's talk about RGB. We're talking tubes. I actually have these set up right now. So number 3, let me grab this. We have the Nanlite Pavotubes. So I grabbed 2 of the Nanlite Pavotube 15Cs. Basically, these things are super freaking versatile. If you haven't used tube lights in some capacity, I know they've gotten really popular over the last couple of years, but the hype is real. Like having these to just, I mean, oh man, like I wish I had some like RGB in this image. Let me just like throw this tube on the bottom of my couch real quick, get a little separation. Or for another example, my main key light right now is just my window, but it's kind of like over here. So the light was just hitting the side of my face and bringing all shadow over here. So I just took my other Pavotube, turned it on a daylight white balance and bounced it right off of this wall in front of me to wrap that light around. And it took, I mean, 45 seconds. It basically took no time at all, and that is the beauty of these tubes. They can be any color, they can be any Kelvin. Do we need a little more hair light? Do we need some fill? Do we need some kind of practical? Do we want to throw them up in some ceiling lights? It's the flow and just grabbing them, putting them over here, bouncing them off the ceiling, throwing some red, green, blue light wherever you need. Light tubes, y'all. RGB light tubes. So these are still pretty expensive. The main thing that gives them place in this budget kit is that I picked up the 2-foot versions instead of the 4-foot versions. I got 2 of them instead of 4 of them. I think if money wasn't an obstacle, I would get 4 of the 4-foot versions. They're longer, they can throw light farther. You can see how this is not like reaching kind of the edges right here. I could spend a few more minutes on the lighting setup and get the same look, which that's what budget gear is all about. It usually can do the same thing. You might just have to spend more time on set on the day of the shoot, getting the look that you want. So yes, I'm freaking hyped about the Pavotubes. Okay, so last but definitely not least in the lighting lineup is the Aputure MC. This is a little mini light panel. It's super small, super light, and it also has magnets on the back. So, I mean, like, I don't have any metal in the frame, but these are magnets on the back. If you have a light stand, you can just plop, magnetize it. If you have a ceiling, a bench, a chair, a stair rail, there's been a lot of times where I've just plopped it up with the magnets and that been how I mounted it. And I love that because again, it matches the same thing as the tube lights, where it's very handheld. It's very like, just walk around or get your second to walk around and help you figure out what you want the light to look like. This is 10% right now also. And then put it on a light stand, gaff tape it up, or magnetize it to something. Is that the verb, I guess? I don't know if that's the right verb, but I'll do the same thing with the tube lights. If I don't have a light stand or I'm putting it in a weird place, which is generally what I'll be doing, I'll just paper tape it or gaff tape it straight up to the wall, to some furniture, wherever I need to put it. The MC also comes with this little diffusion cover, which is super dope because everybody loves soft light. It's still a little bit harsh because it's a smaller light source, but when you're in a pinch and you need a little throw of light, a little color, a little fill, this thing it's gonna help you out. I also picked up a C stand. I have one light stand already that's pretty sturdy, pretty rugged, and has a pretty good amount of reach. But I did pick up one C stand because honestly, after using them, there's really no beating a C stand. You can mount microphones, boom arms, lights. Having some good C stands is definitely crucial, but they're also expensive, which is why I'm telling you that they're really good, but I also only bought one. But y'all, that's all I have for you today. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you had a good time with this. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something, please hit like down below. It really helps me out, helps grow the channel. If you want to pick up any of these lights, you can go to the links in the bio. They are affiliate links, so I'll get a little bit of money if you use those links. And to wrap things up, I definitely think lighting is more important than color grading, which really hurts me to say because I love color grading. But if you're shooting S-Log3, if you're shooting on Sony, go check out last week's video. I break down my color workflow with S-Log3 and how to get a nice filmic look. So go check that out if you're interested, and I'll see you next week.